welcome to the Joe Show, where we dive into the livestock industry from a kid's point of view. I'm your host, Jostein, and today we're going to be diving into a little history lesson. The American Royal was founded in 1899, the first ever show and sale of purebred cattle. 125 years later, the annual livestock show traditions continues with record-selling results. This year, the 3-week show boasted nearly 8,000 entries from over 2,400 exhibitors representing 44 states, and $31,000 in scholarships were awarded to youth participants. And on today's show, I got to interview the grand champion market steer of this year's Kansas City Royal, Ruby Bell of Oklahoma. So sit back, relax, and let's jump in with Ruby. Here we go. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Ruby, congratulations on being named the grand champion market steer at the Kansas City Royal. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So, my name is Ruby Bell. I'm from Bristow, Oklahoma. I've lived there all my life, and just recently this fall, I've moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma, where I go to Oklahoma State University. I'm majoring in ag business. I'll be here for 4 years. I'm not sure what I want to do yet in the future, but it's a little bit about that. My family, I have an older sister, a younger brother, and then a younger sister. And my older sister is at Oklahoma State here with me, and then my two younger siblings are still in high school. Um, some of my hobbies, I obviously love to show cattle. Just hang out with my friends and family time is so important to me. Just being outdoors. I'm pretty crafty. Just love to draw and do crafty things. Yeah, I think that's it.
So, you were talking about your brothers and sisters. Do they show any livestock?
Yes, my older sister started showing cattle when she was about 13. We all showed some pigs, and I showed a few goats when I was younger. Now it's just my younger brother and younger sister showing cattle. They show at the national level as well. They still have a few years. My brother has 2 more years to show, and then my little sister has several years to still show. So they love it, and it's just such a team sport for all of us. And yeah.
Nice. So, how did you first get involved in showing steers, and what inspired you to pursue it seriously?
So, like I said, we started showing goats and pigs when we were younger. My mom showed pigs when she was young, but just at the county level. And then when my sister was about 13, she was like, Dad, I want to get a steer. And so he was like, okay. So he got our show steer, and then just slowly we started. I grew out of the goats. I was like, I'm done with that. And that was nothing serious. And so I was like, this show cattle thing's pretty cool. So, um, I was like, Dad, now I want to get a steer too. And so then we all started showing cattle. And then just as the years have gone on and on, it's just been it's just grown on to me and I just love it so much. Just being at the barn every day with my family. And it's just such a family sport for my whole family as a team. You've learned so much with showing any kind of animal. And so I think that just gives us such a great appreciation for all the traits that we learned from showing cattle, and it's just really made me want to stick with it, want to have my kids show cattle, and just really pursue that industry.
Mhm. So, you're talking about showing at the national level. How many other national shows have you gone to, and how have you done?
So I've shown a couple heifers at Denver. I've never shown a steer there. We've shown some steers at Louisville, Kansas City. My sister, we had the pleasure of winning Kansas City in 2019 with my older sister. And so just to go back and win it again is just so absolutely unbelievable. And we cannot thank God enough for giving us both of these steers in our hands at this time. And so then we have our state shows, our state fair, and then the Oklahoma Youth Expo that we show at. But Kansas City is our favorite national show for sure.
Are you looking to take your showing to the next level? Look no further than Lewis Genetics Show Pigs. At Lewis Genetics, they specialize in top-tier show pigs that stand out in the ring and excel in performance with that winning edge you need. With their pigs, you're not just investing in livestock, you're investing in their future victories. Visit lewisgenetics.com and make your next show season a winning one. Lewis Genetics, where champions are born and bred. Was there a particular moment or experience that made you fall in love with livestock showing?
So the Oklahoma Youth Expo, that is our big state show. I had um bronze medallion steer 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, yeah. And just as soon as I had that, and even that steer was so special to me, I just really fell into love with showing cattle. And we had a semi heifer before that we showed at junior nationals, and we had the pleasure of winning the junior nationals with her. And that was probably my specific moment where I was like, man, I really, really love this and I want to keep doing it. And that was in 2021, I believe. And that was a heifer that we had no help at the barn with. It was just our family over the summer working so hard. And so that was such a huge win for our family that when we got that heifer, she was so green and so tiny. And we were like, Dad, like, what in the world is this heifer? Like, we don't know if she's going to turn out. Like, oh my gosh. And he was like, let's just keep feeding her, like, keep working on her. Like, let's just keep working on her. I'm like, okay. So as she got older and older, I was like, man, Dad, like, you knew what you were talking about. Like, this heifer looks really good. And so, then we showed her at junior nationals in Madison, Wisconsin, and she won. And so just seeing that heifer from the very ground up just really, really sparked my interest. And I was like, we're going to keep doing this. And I knew still had a couple more years to show. And so I was like, I'm going to give it my absolute all.
So, when you showed at the Kansas City Royal, walk me through the day of the show and how you prepared for the show.
Okay, so the steers were in tie-outs. We got there super, super, super early, probably 4:30 in the morning. We got out there and I'm like, this is it. It's game day. Like, everybody's so nervous. You just don't know what to think. You don't want to get your hopes too up, and then, it's be terrible if you don't win. And then, you still want to be confident in yourself and be competitive and walk in the ring knowing I'm gonna win. Just have that mindset every time. Even if you don't win, there's several times you lose more than you win. And just going through that whole day, that whole morning, I was so nervous. I don't think I ate or drank anything. And we're trying to get my steer to eat and drink everything. And so it's like, everybody's so focused on the steers. And then the rest of our team, all their steers, and everybody's pouring everything into what they have to get those steers ready. And everybody's tired because it's so early in the morning. But you just step back and think for a second, like, anybody would give anything to be in your shoes right now. So like, suck it up, even if it's 4:30 in the morning. We get the steers in the barn and we're feeding them, and we go to wash them. And then I showed probably about 2 o'clock in the day. We just kept feeding on them and watering them, and then he went to the chute to get fit on. And there's probably about 7 guys working on the steer, fitting him up, and all his legs, his flank, his top line, his tail head, his belly, everything. So it's just you just step back and they're like, oh my gosh, like, these guys are giving it all they have after I've given all I have, and so it's like this comes back to goes down to the nitty gritty on, you know, how your steer's gonna look in the show ring. And so you just ultimately have to give it to God and just know that He's gonna make whatever happens. And so we get ready and get a show halter on and show stick and go to the ring. And, everybody's just looking at your steer, looking at all the steers that are up there in the holding ring. You just can't get that to your mind, because sometimes you'll see guys, like looking at your calf and you're like, oh, maybe he thinks you look good, or maybe he thinks he looks bad. And it's like their opinion doesn't matter at this point. Like, it's up to the judge and God ultimately. And so I just walked in the ring, and I don't know, I'd say a prayer right before I go in the ring, and just try to stay calm and go in the ring. And I showed him class, and I think class is the most nerve-wracking, because you either win your class or you don't do good in your class. And if you don't do good in your class, you can't do good the rest of the show. So it's like, it's a make or break, in your class. And so, and I won my class and I was like, okay, I'm feeling good about this. And last time I showed at Kansas City, I think I got like a participation ribbon or something when I went in my class. And I don't know if I was expecting that or not, but coming out of my class this time, I was feeling a lot better than that last time. And that was a couple years ago, winning my class. And then I looked at my parents and I was like, okay, we're not finished. Like and so then I went right back in for a division and then I won my division. And I don't know, I was just so like took away. I was like, I don't even know what to think right now. I was just so like shocked, honestly. And then the grand drive was the next day. It just was crazy. The whole day of the grand drive, I'm so nervous, stressed. It's a funny story about my shirt. So I was wearing a bright red shirt during the grand drive, and I only brought one show shirt, and it was disgusting from earlier. And so we had to go buy a shirt. Since my name's Ruby, my favorite color is ruby red. It's kind of cheesy, but ruby red is my favorite color. And then it also happened to be the Chiefs Kingdom. And so the red was just the most perfect color. And so I bought that shirt and then just wearing it out in the Grand Drive was just, it just felt so fitting and perfect. But walking in, I don't even know. I honestly kind of blacked out a little bit. I just like got so nervous, I blacked out. And so when they came and slapped my steer, I just was in total shock. My body like froze up. I'm like looking at pictures now and I'm like, man, I have the ugliest crying face ever, but it's fine. And then just seeing all the pictures, there's a picture of my older sister like jumping on top of my mom, like giving her the biggest hug ever. And so just looking at all those pictures after the aftermath of the show, this brought tears to my eyes again because, that stuff I didn't see, but the camera ladies like um, caught it as I was winning and having a different moment. And so just seeing different people's point of view, of the show and everybody's emotions is just so special.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I have kind of a story with that too. After the Iowa State Fair, kind of the same thing happened with me. Like I got to look at all the different pictures and people's reactions. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so special. And then you're like, just seeing like who hugs you and all the hugging pictures and all the really ugly crying pictures and it's just so emotional even now to look back at all those pictures and be like wow like everybody all these people really were rooting for me and it's really special.
You were talking about how a bunch of people are working at your cow at the same time. Can you tell me who's all on your pit crew?
Um, so the bottom crew is who we buy our cattle from, and they're from Newcastle, Oklahoma. So amazing people. They're so awesome. So selfless and will do anything for you. They pour their all into getting our calves ready and in our hands from the very get-go, and then, you know, checking on us, throughout all of us getting the calves ready and everything, and then helping us get to the show, getting them fit and clipped up, and they're just so awesome. I have so many words about them. We would be on this call for hours if I could talk about them for so long, but Baylor Bonham and Travis Otterstad. And then there's so many other guys and girls on our crew that if I said everybody's name, I'm sure I'd be leaving one out. But um, they're just very behind the scenes, and you don't, for the outside people, they only see the person that's in the show ring with the calf, and a lot of people don't see everybody that's behind the scenes, but they do so much work to help get my calf and me in the ring. And then it's just hands off and they can't do anything about it, but ultimately they're the ones that are helping me get to that grand champion title all the way. They're pushing for me, rooting for me on the sidelines, at back at the stalls. Like, yeah, I want to thank them so much. They've done so much for me, and I just love them very much.
So tell us about your grand champion steer. What is its name and what made him stand out from the other animals you've shown?
So my steer's name was Ted. He stood out from the other animals, first of all, because his hide was so amazing. His hair was so awesome. The coloring markings on him are just so pretty, I think. He had such an awesome attitude, so sweet from the very beginning. Ted was a here I am. He was about 1,359 pounds is what he was weighed in at. So what's a really cool story about him is the reserve grand champion steer that was shown by Riley Rogers. Her steer and my steer are full sibs. And so that just like made it full circle. Her dad raised the steer and then he got put in our hands. And so that was just really cool for both of our families to be able to show the grain and reserve steer, and for their family to have raised both of them is just so incredible. Yeah, Ted was such a sweetheart. He was a hard one for all of our family to let go. All of our family loved him so much.
So, how many other cattle did you show throughout the year that you had?
So we only had two steers in the barn. My little sister showed at the Tulsa State Fair, and he was a yellow steer, and she actually had grand champion steer at the Tulsa State Fair, which we've been wanting to win the Tulsa State Fair for so long and has been one of our biggest goals. And then we decided to leave Ted at home. We didn't know for sure whether he was going to show at Kansas City or Tulsa. Those two were in the barn at the same time, and for both of them to be grand champion for any family, our family especially, is just so incredible. And to have just two steers on feed and for both of those steers to be grand champion is just truly unbelievable.
Yeah. So, how do you handle the pressure for such a high level of show, and how do you stay calm and focused during the drive?
Sometimes I get a little worked up in the ring, if your steer's acting bad or whatever. I don't know. You just have to stay calm in your mind and, still be competitive and know that you want to win. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. You still have to be a good competitor, congratulate the people who won, congratulate everybody. Everybody did so much hard work to get to the spot. And so just everybody deserves a congratulations.
On my podcast, I like to play a game called Would You Rather. So, would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the smartest person in the room, and why?
Ooh, that's hard. I'd probably say be the smartest person in the room. You know, maybe let somebody else be the funniest person and give me a good laugh every now and then. Um, just being smart and being knowledgeable about so much stuff gives you, that much step higher in life. Even though being funny is a good thing, I just think that being smart would get you further in life.
Mhm. What are some key skills you've developed over the years that help you succeed in the show ring?
Obviously, say my worth ethic. I mean, I think everybody would say that just from showing any kind of livestock in this industry, just having those good communication skills, being able to go to shows and connect with older people and people your age, and, just make those connections with people around the world and have those friends from different states. And I think that's so important, for the rest of your life. I'd also say I did lots of things through FFA, give speeches, and just my public speaking skills through FFA are really important. And I feel like I can bring that throughout my whole life.
Mhm. So you're talking about FFA. Are you an officer in FFA?
Yes, I was an officer in high school. I'm not anymore. That kind of ends when you're a senior in high school, unless you go on to be a state officer. My sister was a state officer, so her freshman year, she was the FFA state reporter, but I did not do that. I was the vice president in high school.
Nice. Do you have plans to continue showing steers in the future, or are there any other livestock shows you're planning to go to?
I think I'm gonna pass the torch down to my younger brother and sister. It's their kind of time to shine, and so I don't think I'll show any more steers. Kind of go out with the bang. It's kind of hard to believe that I'm done showing, but it's time for me to take a step back and let my little siblings show. And I know they're going to do so good and learn so many new and good things from showing cattle and more than they already have. I'll go support them, of course, and help them with all their projects at the show. Our next show will be the Oklahoma Youth Expo.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about your experience or about the livestock industry in general?
So I'd say for any of the listeners, just whether you're young or old, just, keep going, keep pushing. If you're a young showman that still has a lot of years ahead of you like you do. Just, pour everything you have into those livestock projects and, give it your all. I know that there's hard days and I know that those early mornings and late nights, can get really tough. But just know that when you get in college one day, you're gonna miss it and you're gonna wish that, you could have that down pat routine again. And I'm a kind of person that loves a routine. And so just having that or just missing the routine now being in college, really just makes me wish that I would have, soaked it in a lot more. And I know everybody says that just soak in every single moment you have, but it's so true and it's so crucial that, you do all the organizations in high school, you do all the clubs, you do all the things, and it's hard to juggle at times, with your livestock, but just know you can do it and keep your faith in God, keep your friends close and your family closer, and just have a good time with it. Don't take it too serious. Showing livestock is so serious, and some people take it too far to where they take the fun out of it and just don't let it get to that point. Just enjoy every single moment. Just know that there's so many kids in the world that would rather be in your spot. Don't take that for granted and thank Jesus every day for everything you have. And yeah,
Thank you, Ruby, for joining, talking with me today. It was great getting to know you, and I appreciate your time.
thank you so much.
Thank you.